Hello.
Hi, Ike and Tash. It's Maria from B&H.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you? I heard you guys were gonna shoot a little bit today and prep around, so I wanted to ask you 21 questions.
Cool, yeah, we're actually packing up our stuff right now.
Awesome. Great, so can I jump right in?
Yes, let me just eat this one Dorito. Okay, I'm ready.
Awesome. So what exactly are you guys shooting today?
Well, I'm working on some different influencer campaigns, and so Ike is going to take some pictures of me for my blog and for the influencer stuff that I've got going on.
Awesome. And so how have you been keeping busy during this quarantine? Has this affected your workflow at all?
I don't feel like it's affected our workflow. I think initially we thought it would, and we definitely slowed down like everybody else, but we are picking up. And so it's been really nice to kind of see how people have adjusted and kind of switched their plans around, and that we are able to still be included in them.
Great. And I know you both work together, but you're also married, right? So who does what and how does this work?
Oh man, yes, we do work together and we are married. Ike does weddings and engagements, and I do families and seniors, but the truth is that we kind of do all of it together. I have a little more flexibility though in deciding what I'm gonna do and what I don't, just because we have small kids and I'm, mama. So he leads all of our weddings and engagements, and then I lead all of the family and senior sessions, and then I handle all of the emails and the marketing and the social media and stuff like that. So that's kind of how we divide up responsibilities.
That's awesome. And do you enjoy working together all of the time? You can be honest.
All of the time. If I'm going to work with someone all of the time, I'm glad that it's him, because it's nice to know that our resources and our money and our time are not being split and divided. And it also is really cool that I'm working with someone who understands why this is important and why it matters to me. And we share kind of the same, we share the same goals and the same aspirations, and we find the same things fun. I have a lot of friends who are photographers and their husbands don't get it at all, and so I feel really thankful that mine does, and that he's a part of helping to make sure that I can be the best that I can be. So yeah, I do like working with him. It's fun and we get a lot done, and I love the back and forth and the flow of just like our camaraderie when we go out together and do the work.
That's amazing. And so what got you both started in photography and videography?
So I had lost a family member about 11 years ago, and had gotten really depressed, and I picked up the camera to kind of distract myself, and kind of found that I had some talent there, and Ike was always there with me, like holding the reflector and stuff. And so as I was learning, he decided to pick up and learn too, and he found his love for video, and so we just kind of started experimenting, and at one point, like, our passion got in the way of our real-time jobs, and we were like, what would happen if we just took a leap and saw what would happen? And so here we are, and that's kind of how it all got started. And as we have like grown as business owners and as individuals, like, we've been able to find what we're good at, both together and separately, and that's been really cool too.
And so what drew you to portraiture aside from all the other styles?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I grew up in foster care and always longed for like a family and family pictures. I was always drawn to family images and just kind of like what the story would be behind the picture. And so when we started shooting, that's where I was naturally drawn, was just to be able to tell people's stories as a family. Before I was a photographer, I was in youth development for 15 years. And so I really miss working with young people and got super excited about this idea of senior portraits. And Ike and I came into the photography industry when the senior industry was really at the beginning and taking off. And so it was really fun to kind of be in it when it was forming. So that's kind of how we started with portraits. And then we started shooting weddings, and Ike discovered he really loved weddings. And so we added that to our lineup as well. And over time, I realized that really wasn't my thing, and so that's where we kind of decided that we were going to split and focus on the things that we love. Not split in terms of like do things separately, but take the lead in those individual areas that made sense for us.
That's great. And what's each of your go-to cameras?
I shoot with the D750. I really loved the D700 and was sad to part with it. So when we found the D750, I felt like it was the closest thing to that body. And Ike shoots with the Z6. So those are our two workhorses.
Awesome. And you have a great family. How do you manage work and home life since you work together?
Wait, is that a thing? People manage that? Our girls, especially our oldest, has always been a part of it. It's just a part of our world. And so I don't feel like we really struggle with managing it because it's become more of a family business. But I think what we have done is we've created some boundaries for ourselves. Days that we don't shoot, times when we don't get on email, making sure that we have time in our schedule where we're taking our kids away and spending time with them and we're together as a family. So we really have, over the years, grown to develop some boundaries to make sure that there is somewhat of balance. But I think the lines get really blurry when you live together, work together, raise kids together. So,
And education is a big part of what you guys do as well. So since you're so busy, why take the time to educate others?
Oh gosh, well, that's a really great question. We are really busy, but I think that for a long time, there was a gap in the education in the industry, and you couldn't find a lot of really strong Black educators. And we could make an excuse that we're too busy to do that, but a lot of what we learned from other people, or we learned from seeking out people to teach us. And so we have grown so much, and we've made so many mistakes, and we don't want to see other people do that. And so I think education is important to us because we want to make sure that other voices that are like ours have an opportunity to live their dream, to see their business be successful, and to avoid a lot of the mistakes that we made. I think that's really why we do it. It's just really important to us that other people get to build a life that they love, of freedom and, of prosperity. And so that's the goal.
That's great. That's amazing. And social media has become a big business tool these days. How has it helped you?
Oh man, social media is really fun, I think, because it allows people to get to know Ike and I as the photographers, as a couple, as a family, but it also allows us to have our own separate voices. And so we use social media to share about our lives and to really connect with our clients and to let them see us outside of the camera. But we also use social media as a means to introduce the world to who we are as individual people. I'm a photographer, but I'm so many other things. And Ike is also a photographer, but he is also, drawn to so many other things and inspired by other things. And you don't always get to share that maybe on a website or when you're sitting on a stage talking to people. So I think that social media gives us a chance to really give people the behind the scenes of who we are and to make them feel like they're connected to us, and that they're sharing and doing life with us on a more regular basis,
Sure. And so you've mentioned so many different things that you do. What's your favorite part of your work?
Oh man, I think my personal favorite part of my work, I know Ike's is going to be a different response, is the people. I love connecting with people. I love community building. I love exhorting and encouraging people towards their dreams. And I feel like photography gives me a way to do that on every level, whether it's working with a client and helping them to see themselves in a more confident way, or whether it's, recording pictures for a family and sharing their story in a way maybe they've never seen it before, or whether it's teaching other photographers or mentoring photographers. There's so much pouring out that gets to happen, and that fills me up so much. So
awesome. And so let's switch gears up a little bit. What are some tips for wedding photographers dealing with postponed weddings due to COVID?
Well, we're gonna head out, so maybe we can finish this conversation on the road. Does that work for you?
Yeah, I want to hear what Ike has to say.
Awesome.
Perfect. Oh, hey, Ike here. What's up?
Awesome. So I guess we can go right back into the tips question. So what are some tips for wedding photographers dealing with postponed weddings during this COVID time?
Well, I would say some good tips are during this slow time, if you have any personal projects that you've been wanting to work on, now is a good time to use this free time to work on some personal projects, just to expand in your art form and maybe do some other creative things that you actually might be able to incorporate later on when you start taking weddings again. So personal projects. Also, you want to use this time to, make sure your stuff is ready on your front end and your back end. So maybe doing some SEO, make sure your website's together, upgrading your portfolio so that when things pick back up and people find your website, like they're ready to book you and they like what you have, your stuff is up to date. And another tip would be go out there and get it. So like maybe do some Facebook marketing, maybe just trying to see what you do to get customers. And also a bonus tip, while we're on the phone with you guys at B&H, I know you guys have a lot of courses on B&H Event Space and you guys do a lot of education things.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for tips to get better at this craft, B&H has a lot of courses or online things or tools to help you make yourself better. So
Perfect.
besides spending money.
And Tosh mentioned that your answer to your favorite part of work would be a little different from hers. So what's your favorite part of your work?
My favorite part, I like the shooting part. Like I like going out, shooting, creating awesome pictures. I say in my head, I never said this out loud, but in my head, I just like to create awesome photos. So anytime I get to create something new and awesome, that's just my favorite part of it. It's just shooting, just being out in the mix, being creative, being technical, figuring out problems. I love it.
Tosh mentioned time management can be a little crazy, especially with the two of you working together. So what did you guys do for breakfast this morning?
What? Breakfast who? Who eats breakfast? Like, who entrepreneur eats breakfast? What do you mean breakfast? No, I had coffee. I had the Breakfast of Champions, which is a cup of coffee. Now my kids ate breakfast. My daughter had oatmeal. My other daughter, she had a bagel. But me, I had coffee. Okay. Now brunch, that's a whole nother different situation. We can talk about brunch.
And so, would you rather have one battery or one 32 gigabyte memory card at a wedding?
One battery or one 32 gigabyte? A 32 gigabyte memory card, okay? And here's why. Because I've made it happen when shooting lower. A lot of these cameras have lower megapixel options. And so I remember one time I got low on space, I got to the reception and I switched to the lower file size. I think it was like 10, 12 megapixels because it was still good enough to print. And I knew in my head that like the reception photos weren't gonna be print bigger. Most of the time they print portraits. So I figured if I was gonna finesse a 32 gigabyte memory card, I would save the big space, the full size for the portraits, and then save switch to a smaller file size for receptions and a lot of candid stuff. So that's how I would work that out. But a battery,
That's a really good tip.
No, I know because from experience, I'm like, oh, you know what? Low megapixel with Canon has medium raw, something like that, like perfect.
And you guys have traveled to a bunch of different locations for your shoots. What has been your favorite?
I'd say one of my favorite places was Greece and Thailand. I think Thai, because in Santorini, like we did some shooting there, and that place is wonderful. And then I really love Thailand, Phuket to be for example, Phuket to be specific. Phuket, I loved it there. I love the tropical, I love the greenery, I love the texture, and it was nice weather. The sunsets were beautiful, so yeah, Phuket.
And if you weren't photographers, what would you be?
If I wasn't a photographer, I'd probably be some kind of day trader or I'd be some kind of Wall Street guy.
Really?
Yeah, before we started doing photography, I was actually learning like day trading on the side, like stocks and stuff like that. And it's interesting because in this climate that we're in and with the market doing what it's doing, it's a nice chance to get back in and try to recover some of these losses that we've been taking. So.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I'm really into like the financial. Other than that, on the creative side, I'd be a DJ. Because I love music, and so like I could see myself being a wedding DJ.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Best piece of advice you've ever received? Taxes, hire an accountant. Okay, know your money. That was probably the best thing, and it works across all levels. Is knowing your money, like following the money, will help you out in the long run, way better than any kind of like light tip or anything like that. If you're in business, so.
And aside from your camera, what's your favorite piece of gear?
Aside from my camera, my favorite piece of gear is my computer. Does that count?
And what got you into videography?
You know, growing up, I've always loved, like, I've always thought I was gonna be like the home video guy. So you know how like families have the dad that records everything on video? That was kind of my thing. Like before me and Tosh met, I would record like self videos. Like I was vlogging before vlogging was a thing. Funny thing, and I actually sent her pictures of vlogs that I made before even YouTube, like because we met online.
Cool.
And so in order for her to see what I was like, I would send her videos of me like goofing around with my friends just to get an idea of my personality, what I was like. So I sent her videos, and so I've always been into video vlogging, documented life.
So you were into selfies before selfies were a thing.
I have a photo on my somewhere of me taking a picture of one of the first cell phone cameras with a photo, and I took a selfie against the car window because you couldn't flip it around. I'm an innovator, okay? I'm a trailblazer. I've been out here before these things have been popular, okay? So when they find the bones, when they dig up the bones and they find the fossils, I'm gonna have a selfie camera and a video in both my hands.
And last question, who should we interview next?
Who should you interview next? You know, that's a good question. I have so many friends, so many people that like I love. But I know one person who would be like a funny character, would give you an entertaining interview, would be a guy named Keidron Franklin. He's out of Texas, 924 Photography. Who else could I think of that would be like a really good entertaining? Joshua Dwayne, he's out of New York. He's like down the street from you guys. Joshua Dwayne Photography. And my friend Kurth Bob, he'd be a great guy. He's out of DC.
That's great. Awesome. Perfect. So we'll make sure to get in touch with them, and thank you so much.
No problem. So I'm gonna get back to shooting Tosh, and then I guess I'll see you guys later.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Alrighty. You ready?